What's up, guys? It's Stuck on Pandora here. How are you all doing today? I'm here with loot opening number 2, and I thought I would turn this into more of like a soapbox thing. We would talk about loot. I have a loot guide I'm working on, and character guide Tuesdays and Thursdays when you can look forward to some uploads on this channel. Mostly still doing Battleborn content. First I want to touch on this idea that the game is dead, and I really want to ask you truly, for those of you who say things like that, what does that mean? How is something dead that's not organic in the first place, okay? Super Mario Brothers for the NES is not dead. People still play it, if that's how we're defining it. So give me your definition on how you're defining something as alive or dead. That is data. So, moving on from that, let's talk about the loot. Why am I going to make a loot guide? Well, people seem very confused on how this stuff works. And not because they're dumb, because the systems underlying Battleborn are considerably cluttered, and the PvE needs considerable help. What I will primarily focus on for this video, though, is that you ought to be just working on getting a very nice zero activation cost build up, okay? Yeah, it's gonna have negative effects to it, but say it has like shield recharge delay or negative shield strength and you're an Eldred, won't affect you. Say you're a Toby, say you're an Isaac, or even a Thorn. Attack speed, reload speed, none of these things affect you, okay? As far as I can tell, attack speed does not affect the charge rate on some of these characters that have draws. And the real benefit to zero activation cost gear is it's almost no worse than legendaries or even purples. I primarily use purples because they can stack benefits like reload speed or shield penetration for very specific encounters or a really specific Battleborn I'm trying to counter. Say Cleese is on the team, we know it's going to be a good Cleese. I'll run a shield penetration build, but 90% of the time I'm running a zero activation cost build anymore. The trend currently is that they're going to be nerfing these legendaries pretty heavy. I know Chronicky might have been out of control, and I've heard some horror stories of a Miko with 3,000 health and the whole team was like completely out of control. I imagine those are going to keep getting touched on because I think that there's ambivalence as to why they even exist in the game in the first place. I don't want to see them removed. I think they're quite neat. And you people who are really into the PvE, you'll have to let me know how you feel about it. Because the argument that I hear quite often is, oh, you're sacrificing the PvE for the sake of the PvP. With some of this gear balance, and that's an argument that you'll hear in any game that does this anymore. The gear in Battleborn is probably my favorite thing, okay? And once you get into how it works, you realize that it's very simple and it's quite redundant. Why I say redundant is because everything is hard capped, so 9.8% damage, attack damage, and 7% skill damage, 14% heal power, 14% healing received, 5.6 movement speed. All this stuff is a hard cap, and it's going to be the same on legendary, it's going to be the same on purple, it's going to be the same on zero activation cost white gear. So for instance on Atticus right now, I'm trying to master Atticus as we talk. I'm running sprint speed, and I'm running movement speed, and I'm running attack speed. And these things take away from like healing received or reload speed. So they don't affect me in the least. It costs nothing. And even in longer game modes, you can, that has a real benefit. Especially if you're in a 5-man, designate somebody to run that expensive gear so they can get it really quick. Or if someone needs to level like Whiskey or Atticus, any character that Cleese really takes off levels, let your buddy do that. Like focus on getting them the gems, them the levels, and if you're running, you probably should run a pretty powerful character and that kind of composition. If you're running people who need levels to become powerful, you can run zero activation cost on them, no problem. Thorns, Mikos, we were running a Miko with Venga Gun, zero activation cost with movement speed and a heal power belt. And if we wanted to, we could put a gem producer in there because turrets and support stations are quite a nuisance in capture. But I ran attack speed, and that's something the Battleborn subreddit called it attention to, was that attack power and attack speed affect how quick your heal beam gets out. So support characters are equally affected by attack power as they are attack speed. So there's another redundancy for you. Is that like greens and blues have utilities, but they're a little more expensive, so they're really better. And legendaries, the golds, have a unique utility, which more than half the time runs the gambit of it's a gimmick. Many of them are really expensive gimmicks that you'll get later in a tight match. You'll get later in the match, and probably won't serve near as much purpose as what you think. The best legendaries out there right now are the support legendaries. So I almost always run a Lorien Purse Cutter. If I had a Quartermaster Ben, I'd run that. And Lorien Purse Cutter steals the enemy team's crystals. Now you may not think that has value, but not only do these support stations do a lot of damage, accelerators move and decelerate your enemy. Okay, the decelerating of the enemy is really important there because it also affects their attack speed. But most importantly, it gets you levels. So when you over level the enemy team, you suddenly find yourself at a significant advantage. It's pretty much the race to the ultimate. And when you have the money to produce buildables because you ran a 0 activation cost build, you're going to get to your ultimate quicker. So judging by the trend, judging by the way the tournaments are forming and they don't want legendaries in there, my suggestion is you go into the normal queue, you make yourself some credits. You can play capture or do normal queue PvE. It certainly needs the population, I'm sure. Go in there and farm out whites and be happy to have them, and collect your legendaries because that's kind of neat and you can pretend you're playing Borderlands, but your most valuable pieces of gear right now are cheap. And people were kind of snooty on this green loot box we got. I'll tell you right now, green fist, green attack power fist, one of the best things you can get. Generate green fist. Keep an eye out for that. I think I'm out of time. I'll see you on the next one, guys.
Identified. I bet you're all kinds of jazzed right now. It's your lucky day, Commander.